In 1931, a loaf of bread was just 9 cents, yet unemployment had climbed to 16%. Families were left struggling to figure out how to feed 5 kids on barely $1 a week. Out of pure necessity, they created meals that would go on to shape American eating habits for generations. One of these, number 17, was considered so unusual that teachers actually prohibited it from being packed in school lunches. And number 3, it relies on a surprising chemical process that scientists only fully understood again in 2019. These humble sandwiches work so well that over time, big food companies quietly pushed them out of the spotlight. If you had the same knowledge your great-grandmother did, you might rethink a huge portion of what you buy at the grocery store today. Hit subscribe because this might change how you think about food. Let us count down the 30 smartest sandwiches that vanished from American tables. Number 30, the sugar sandwich. Before jelly came in jars and before peanut butter cost a nickel, mothers across the Dust Bowl spread butter on white bread and sprinkled it with granulated sugar. That was lunch. The crunch of sugar crystals against soft bread, the way the butter held everything together. A pound of sugar cost 5 cents in 1932, making this the cheapest sweet a child could taste. In Oklahoma and Kansas, where wheat fields turned to dust and cattle died standing, the sugar sandwich meant survival. Children carried them to school wrapped in wax paper, embarrassed but fed. The butter provided fat and calories. The sugar provided energy that lasted through afternoon chores. By 1940, when the economy began to recover, the sugar sandwich disappeared from lunchboxes almost overnight. Mothers wanted to forget. Yet food scientists now know that the combination of fat and simple sugar creates rapid energy absorption, exactly what a malnourished child needed to make it through a school day. Your great-grandmother was not just desperate, she was accidentally brilliant. Number 29, the ketchup sandwich. When the icebox held nothing but condiments and the grocery money had run out 3 days early, mothers reached for the Heinz bottle, 2 slices of bread, a thick smear of ketchup. That was dinner. The tomatoes and ketchup provided vitamin C and the vinegar aided digestion. In cities like Detroit and Pittsburgh, where factory closures left entire neighborhoods unemployed, the ketchup sandwich became so common that children stopped noticing its strangeness. A bottle cost 12 cents and lasted 2 weeks if you were careful. Some families added a slice of onion when they had one. The ketchup sandwich was shame and sustenance in equal measure. It kept children alive when nothing else could. Number 28, the lard sandwich. In the coal fields of Pennsylvania and West Virginia, where mining families lived on company script and company prices, lard was cheaper than butter, and twice as filling. Mothers spread it thick on day-old bread, sprinkled it with salt, and handed it to husbands heading underground for 12-hour shifts. The fat content was staggering, nearly 900 calories in a single sandwich. But for men swinging pickaxes in the dark, those calories meant the difference between finishing a shift and collapsing. Children ate large sandwiches too, their growing bodies desperate for any source of energy. A 5 lb bucket cost 30 cents and fed a family for a month. When vegetable shortening arrived in the 1940s, promising modern cleanliness, lard disappeared from American kitchens. We traded a natural fat that humans had eaten for 10,000 years for a processed alternative that we now know causes heart disease. Number 27, the potato sandwich. Leftover mashed potatoes cold from last night's dinner, spread between 2 slices of bread. This was the working man's lunch in factory towns from Buffalo to Baltimore. The carbohydrates stacked on carbohydrates, creating a dense, filling meal that cost almost nothing. Potatoes sold for 2 cents a pound during the worst years. A family could buy 10 LEBs and eat for a week. Mothers mashed them with a little milk and salt, served them hot for dinner, then packed the leftovers into sandwiches for tomorrow's lunch pails. The potato sandwich was pure survival mathematics, maximum calories for minimum cost. Today we pay extra for loaded potato skins at chain restaurants, never realizing we are eating a Depression-era sandwich with better marketing. Number 26. Bugs, the onion sandwich. Raw onion sliced thin, layered on buttered bread, salted generously. This was the bachelor's dinner, the night shift worker's lunch. Onions cost a penny each in 1933. They kept for weeks in a cool cellar. They provided vitamins that prevented scurvy when fresh vegetables were luxuries. Workers on assembly lines could identify an onion sandwich eater from 10 FT away. But the taste, sharp and sweet and somehow satisfying, made it worth the social cost. The onion sandwich was solitude on a plate. The French have never stopped eating their onion soup, and they call it cuisine. Number 25, the mayonnaise sandwich. In the South, where Hellmann's had not yet crossed the Mason-Dixon line and Dukes reigned supreme, mothers spread mayonnaise on soft white bread and called it lunch. The eggs and mayonnaise provided protein, and the oil provided fat. A jar cost 15 cents and lasted through countless sandwiches. Children who had never tasted real egg salad did not know what they were missing. They ate their mayonnaise sandwiches with quiet contentment. Today we put aioli on everything and pretend we invented something new. First pattern break. Here's where things get interesting. When peanut butter became affordable in the mid-1930s, it transformed the American sandwich overnight. Before Skippy, before GIF, mothers ground their own peanuts or bought from local vendors who made it fresh. The oil separated and the texture was grainy. In 1932, a jar of commercial peanut butter cost about 23 cents. Expensive by Depression standards, but it lasted for weeks, required no refrigeration, and provided protein that growing children desperately needed. Food scientists at the University of Georgia tested Depression-era peanut butter recipes in 2018. The homemade versions contain nearly twice the protein of modern commercial brands because they were not padded with sugar, salt, and stabilizers. Your grandmother's peanut butter made her children stronger. The version you buy at Walmart makes Smucker's richer. We lost something when we handed grinding to corporations. Number 24, the banana sandwich. Sliced bananas on buttered bread, sometimes with a sprinkle of sugar, sometimes with a smear of mayonnaise. This was Elvis Presley's childhood long before he added peanut butter and bacon and turned it into legend. In the 1930s, bananas cost 10 cents a dozen, shipped from Central America. For children who rarely saw fresh fruit, the banana sandwich was exotic and wonderful. Mothers mashed bananas for babies and sliced them for school children. When Elvis made his famous fried peanut butter and banana sandwich decades later, he was reaching back to the comfort food of his Mississippi childhood. Number 23, the mustard sandwich. Yellow mustard spread thick on bread, sometimes with nothing else at all. This was desperation made edible, the last resort before hunger won. Mustard cost a nickel for a jar that lasted months. It provided no real nutrition, just flavor strong enough to convince your stomach something was there. In the Hoovervilles that sprang up outside every American city, men ate mustard sandwiches because mustard was all they had. The mustard sandwich asked nothing and gave almost nothing in return. It was pure survival. Stripped of comfort and pretense, it kept men alive long enough to see the economy recover. Number 22, the peanut butter and pickle sandwich. This one sounds like a Depression-era dare, but it was deadly serious. The saltiness of the pickle cut the richness of the peanut butter. The crunch provided texture that soft bread could not deliver alone. Pregnant women craved it. Children begged for it. By 1936, the peanut butter and pickle sandwich had spread from Kansas to Kentucky, passed between church potlucks and neighborhood gossip. It survived the Depression and the war. Today, it appears on foodie blogs as a rediscovered treasure. We forgot that our great-grandmothers discovered it first. Number 21, the bread and gravy sandwich. When the roast was gone and only the drippings remained, mothers poured gravy between two slices of bread and called it supper. The gravy was everything. Beef drippings, flour, water, salt. It carried the memory of meat long after the meat was gone. Children soaked their bread until it fell apart. A single roast could feed a family for 3 days, then provide gravy for 3 more. Nothing was wasted. Modern restaurants serve bread with expensive dipping sauces and charge $8. Our great-grandmothers would have laughed. Number 20, the hot water cornbread sandwich. In the deep South, where wheat flour was expensive and cornmeal was ground at the local mill for pennies, mothers mixed cornmeal with boiling water, shaped it into patties, and fried them in lard. Split open and filled with sorghum syrup, bacon grease, or a smear of butter, this became the poor man's sandwich below the Mason-Dixon line. The hot water cooking method activated starches that made the bread denser and more filling. The hot water cornbread sandwich was African-American ingenuity passed through generations of survival, a technique that enslaved cooks had developed and their descendants perfected. It deserves more respect than history has given it. Number 19, the bean sandwich. Cold pinto beans mashed slightly with a fork spread on bread like a rough paste. This was Monday's lunch in Texas and New Mexico. A pound of dried beans cost 5 cents and fed a family for a week. Workers carried bean sandwiches to railroad yards and oil fields. Some added a slice of raw onion. Others preferred a dash of hot sauce. The bean sandwich was humble and filling. It provided complex carbohydrates, fiber, and plant protein in proportions that modern nutritionists now call ideal. Our great-grandmothers did not need science to tell them what worked. Second, pattern break. Here is something the history books do not teach. During the Depression, the United States government actively discouraged several of these sandwiches. The Bureau of Home Economics published pamphlets warning mothers against feeding children too much fat, too much starch, too many empty calories. They pushed vegetables and fruits that poor families could not afford. In 1934, a home economics teacher in Oklahoma was fired for teaching students to make sugar sandwiches. The school board called it promoting poor nutrition. The parents called it teaching survival. The tension between official advice and practical necessity ran through the entire Depression. We see the same pattern today: nutrition guidelines that ignore economic reality. Advice that assumes everyone has access to farmers' markets. The poor know what the experts forget. Sometimes survival matters more than optimal health. Number 18, the toast sandwich. 2 slices of soft bread with a piece of buttered toast between them. Toasting changes the texture and concentrates the flavor. Tucking that toast between soft slices creates a striking contrast, a different eating experience from plain bread alone. The toast sandwich has never fully disappeared. College students rediscover it in every generation, usually around the 20th of the month. Number 17, the tomato sandwich. In summer, when gardens exploded with more tomatoes than any family could eat, the tomato sandwich became a daily occurrence. Thick slices of ripe tomato layered on white bread, slathered with mayonnaise, and sprinkled with salt and pepper. This was the sandwich that school teachers tried to ban because it dripped and stained and made a mess of lunch boxes. But children loved it with a passion that surprised their parents. The tomatoes were free from the garden. For a few weeks every August, poor families ate like kings. The tomato sandwich is still made in southern kitchens today, but rarely with tomatoes as good as Depression-era gardens produced. We traded flavor for convenience and called it progress. Number 16, the pimento cheese sandwich. Shredded cheese mixed with chopped pimentos and mayonnaise spread thick on soft white bread. This was the church potluck champion, the funeral food. During the Depression, pimento cheese stretched expensive cheddar into something that could feed a crowd. Mothers mixed their own versions, guarding recipes like family secrets. The pimento cheese sandwich was democracy on a plate, served at debutante balls and fish fries alike. Number 15, the fried egg sandwich. A single egg fried in bacon grease until the edges crisped and the yolk stayed soft, placed between 2 slices of bread. Eggs cost 12 cents a dozen in 1932, making them the cheapest source of complete protein available. Families who kept chickens in backyard coops had even cheaper access. The fried egg sandwich asked nothing fancy of the cook. Heat a skillet, crack an egg, wait. The bacon grease provided flavor that butter could not match, a memory of meat in households that had not seen a pork chop in months. Children ate their fried egg sandwiches with the yolk running down their chins, soaking into bread that turned golden and soft. The fried egg sandwich was pure economy, maximum nutrition for minimum cost. It has never left American tables, though we now call it artisan and charge $12 for it in Brooklyn cafes. Number 14, the liverwurst sandwich. Liver sausage spread on rye bread with a slice of onion and a smear of mustard. This was the German-American answer to protein scarcity. Liverwurst costs less than any other prepared meat because it used the parts of the pig that Americans otherwise threw away. The liverwurst sandwich appeared in lunchboxes from Milwaukee to St. Louis. It faded only when prosperity made Americans ashamed of the foods that had kept them alive. Number 13, the olive loaf sandwich, sliced olive loaf. That strange pink processed meat studded with pimento stuffed green olives layered on white bread with mayonnaise. This was the optimistic sandwich. Olive loaf costs more than plain bologna but less than real ham.